righty. Thank you all for being here. My name is Anthony Barocas, and I am the Chief Gearhead here at StreamTek. And thank you all for being here for today's show, where I am endeavoring to talk about Cherry keyboards. Let's go back to this. Cherry keyboards. If you're like me, actually I should bring the other one over here too. Let's come over here. If you're like me and you have you use computers for live switching, and you've got your little Stream Deck, and actually I should plug this in. I don't even know what's programmed in here right now, but let's plug it in and find out. And I have, you end up collecting a various cornucopia of control surfaces. Nope, I got nothing on here. I got nothing on here, which is weird because I thought I did. Let us go to my, maybe not on this one. XL. Yeah, I got nothing on this one. There we go. Default profile, you can get all the buttons and everything on here. It's very cool. You can program these buttons and make them do what you want to do, and there's a screen behind the buttons to show you what happens. And so if you go to like different pages, they can change and show you different status and everything, and this is really cool. But very often you still need to have a keyboard, like an actual QWERTY keyboard in front of you to change a title, look up a website, type something in. And so you have to have the keyboard and a control surface in front of you. And my thought was, what if there was a way that you could have both in one? And so I started looking around, and I found these Cherry keyboards. You may not have heard of them, but if you were in retail, you would have definitely heard of them. This is a Cherry keyboard, and if you've ever gone to a restaurant or a gas station or something like that, these are the keyboards they have. These are heavy industrial point of sale, POS, point of sale keyboards, where usually all of these buttons, these extra buttons on the keyboard, are programmed by the IT department at the company to be different things. So if you needed $20 on pump one, enter, or if you needed this Happy Meal and that and this to go, enter. It's super fast. The reason they can do that is because all these extra keys can be programmed with macros, with extra keystrokes, and with things like that the computer will understand and convert into things. So if you've ever worked with vMix or various tools like that, you can save a shortcut with whatever keystroke you want. And because vMix doesn't use the actual keyboard, you could save, your keys like this. And if you've used a TriCaster with a regular keyboard, your keyboard becomes, your function keys is the program bus, and your number keys is the preview bus, and the space bar is dissolve, and the enter key is cut. That's great. And then I would program my vMix to be kind of the same thing. And that's really handy if you are using a key. You got to have a keyboard there anyway, or if you're using a laptop, it's already there. But if you're going to be using a desktop PC, having this gives you the keyboard, the mouse, and a whole set of other buttons that you can program to various other keystrokes, because obviously this is an ASCII keyboard, and there are other keystrokes like there's a $, but there's also a pound symbol, the British pound. There's a euro symbol. There's a cents symbol. There's all these extra symbols that you can get to. If you're on a Mac, it's an option in a keystroke, an option and a shift in a keystroke. If you're on a PC, it's Alt and then 4 numbers to get you to that keystroke. And you can save those keystrokes into these buttons and then use those non-typical keystrokes to activate different things in your software. So you could actually have a preview bus and a program bus, and this over here is fade, and this is cut, And then up here you can have mix, and you can have different titles over here, title 1, title 2, title 3, and these keys all keycaps come off. You can put little labels underneath of them and things like that. The thing that I have not seen with the Cherry keyboards is I have not seen little glowy keys with a screen behind them. That's probably beyond the scope of the keys themselves. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. And thank you all for being here. As always, welcome everyone to the show. And if you have any streaming questions, throw them into the live comments, because I got the live comments right in front of me. And if you haven't already chimed in, feel free to let me know where you're watching from. And Mike Sabatini is watching from rainy LaSalle, Illinois. We would love to have some rain down here in Texas. Not as torrential and in one spot as it has been in certain areas. It seems like the rains are just super heavy in one area, and then they just don't, blanket large areas with a little bit of rain. They deluge certain areas with a lot of rain, which causes problems, especially if the area is super dry. Anyway, so we're going to get right into this. It's probably not going to be a big show because it's fairly easy to understand what is going on here, but I'm going to go through it anyway because I think this can be of use to people. And one of the other key reasons I'm doing this is because, let me bring over my laptop. Over here, you can see I just had the StreamTek, so I brought that up, and you can save different settings. And I'm going to close that. And there's the software. The reason I do this is because Cherry keyboards are readily accessible. You can just go on Amazon and get some Cherry keyboards. And I've got a link in the description for if you want to go get yourself a new Cherry keyboard. You can see one there for $82. It's just all customizable keys. And then the next one over has they're all hard keys, not with the removable plastic key caps. And the $115 one over there is the one that I have right in front of me. That's this one. It says Cherry, and then it does have a little light up here if I go caps lock and num lock and scroll lock and things like that. There's a check mark. I don't know what the check mark is for. It lit up when I plugged it in, I guess when it's booting up, because there's kind of like a little computer in here. In essence, it's not just a dumb keyboard. There's a little computer in here that when you hit this button, it then sends, Alt 1, 2, 3, 4 to the computer. That's what it's doing. So it's converting this tap into a series of keystrokes that then get sent to the computer to be used however you've set it in the computer. Like I said, if you're using vMix, you could then say, oh, this is going to call up input 5 or input 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what you can do. And that's what these are. And that's why these kind of command the prices they do, $115 for a keyboard. It is probably going to last you a long time because these are built for, like I said, restaurants and stuff like that. It's a sizable keyboard. It's not a tiny thing. It's heavy. It also has drainage holes on the bottom so that if somebody were to spill a drink on it, it would probably just pour right through and out the holes in the bottom. It's very durable in build quality. But the other key thing is these have been around a long time, decades even. So that $115 keyboard, if you go to Amazon, you can get it for $30. And for a keyboard that's also a control surface, getting one for $30 or $35 shipped, $35 or best offer, and here it is, $35, buy it now, plus $14 in delivery. This one's up here is free delivery. Let's click on this. So this one is not the one I have, but you can see it's got these buttons across the top. It has the trackpad. It has a full real numeric keypad, whereas the one I have, the numeric keypad is sort of like in the soft keys over here that can be reprogrammed. So depending upon the size of the keyboard you want, there's different versions available. So you can get a really wide one, you can get a more narrow one, you can get one that doesn't even have this. It's just this. You can get all kinds of things. So this one right here, it looks very nice, and this is another view of it. These are all USB powered because, again, there's a little computer in here. So even if there's no lights on here, there's a little computer in here. So they do need to have power coming to them. But $35 or best offer, coming from more than 10 available, 24 sold. And, you know, I got to say, wait, go away. Cherry G86. Mine is a Cherry SPOS, point of sale, G86. You know, it's the same genre of point of sale keyboards that they offer. And, you know, honestly, I got to tell you that, you know, being able to go through here, and there's the one I have, $35 plus $14 shipping. There's another one for $29. Here's one for $110. Probably not going to buy that one, right? Come down here, $149 for the all white keys down there. But then you come down here and here's one for $34. Here's one that somebody had reprogrammed for $30 or best offer plus $13 shipping. And so these can be had for a steal. And that's why I think it's worth talking about these keyboards, because this, I mean, you get this for $35. You can try it out. If it's not your cup of tea, put it back on eBay for $35. It costs you nothing. But you can put this in here. A good question comes in. Mike Sabatini asks, is it Bluetooth? No, it's not Bluetooth because, as I said, there's a computer in here that requires power in order to do the conversion. Now, when I talk about conversion, you have to program the keyboard with what you want it to do over here. And they offer software tools. Now, there's two different software tools available from Cherry. Cherry is a German company, so it's cherry.de. And all versions of the URL that I've seen, Cherry keyboards, Cherry, you know, key, they all end up going to cherry.de. So just go to cherry.de. And that's what we're going to do. So over here, I've got my Cherry. Here it is. So you can go there, and they've got all kinds of regular keyboards. You know, let's go back to the main page, and you can pick the language you want. So they've got gaming keyboards with the clack, and you know, these are kind of clacky keys. You know, they are kind of clacky. You can hear it. But they've got like more flat keyboards and things like that. They've got backlighting, and you can change out the type of switches on these things on the gaming keyboards. And, you know, they've got keyboards that will light up if you're into the gaming end of it. But what I'm really talking about is gaming health and things like that. But what I'm really talking about is the point of sale keyboards that have these extra keys on the top. And you can download a software package. Now, one of the software packages I downloaded, if I come over here, I installed them both. The Cherry Utility that I have right here, the Cherry Utility, is for programming, I guess, the consumer keyboards. That's not the one you want. What you actually want is Cherry Tools. And technically, if you go into the Cherry website and you type in point of sale SPOS G86, and I can do that. I'll just show you how we go through the process. So you come over here, SPOS G86, and we go looking for that. So there are the different keyboards, and then I had to click through to find the one. That's the one that I have. It's available with hard keys, and it's available with those. And then you go to downloads, and then go to the download center. Yes, you have to keep clicking through. And then you click on software, and then you get to your Cherry Tools. And this is the actual app you need for the point of sale keyboards that you can see running further over on the other side of the screen. Now, this app looks like it has not been updated since Windows 98. It looks, I mean, I've had to enlarge, I've got a larger version of this so you can actually see it, but that's as big as it gets. Like, if I size this thing out to fill the whole screen, yay. Like, I don't know, they haven't updated this thing in forever, and they probably haven't had to because it just does the job. So this, you can see all of these keys at the top. Let me do me over. All these keys at the top, these are the ones I'm reprogramming. Now, if you wanted to reprogram all of the keys, which I wouldn't recommend because part of the point is to have a regular keyboard and mouse, at least for me, so that I'm bringing one thing And I've got my, so if I got my little mini tower in the rack and everything, I put this down on the table. I've got my regular keyboard. So if I need to like change the title, I can mouse around. I've got my 2 keys. I can mouse around. I can change the title, but I still have all my switching up here or whatever else I want to do. So that's all controlled in here, and you can see you can download what's in there, and you can upload something, and you can save it to a disk and send it to somebody else with a Cherry keyboard. So you got programmable keys, you've got your keyboard and your attributes. So this is the software. It looks super basic, but it's actually kind of complicated. Software that lets you assign different keystrokes and macros to these other things. And let me click on this, which will make it a little bigger. Boom, there we go. So now you can see what I'm talking about a little bit better in terms of programming your keys. So let's just say I've got these top keys. What I've been working on before the show is those purple keys. And you can see that bottom row of programmable keys have escape, F1, F2, F3, F4, F5. So it's got your function keys. And if we go to the overhead, you can see that they actually do have labels underneath the plastic covers that are my function keys. 11, 12, and then over here is home, page up and page down. And over here, it's got my numeric keypad. So if I want my numeric keypad, I can hit numlock, which has been programmed to be numlock. And now this is permanently my numeric keypad until I turn it off. So that is how that's working. And if I wanted to assign a new key to this, I could come over here and say, okay, this one, which is the second one in. I already did the first one. So you would think keyboard programming, single key, and you would just type it in. But it comes up asking me about a hex value. I don't know what hex value is. And then when you select one, it says this is the 5 key. Well, that's not what I want. I want to do the point of sale keys. So you see down here your point of sale keys. So when you come down here and you select your point of sale key, let me scroll this down so it won't go up. Oops. There we go. You click on the point of sale key, you're just selecting a key. But it says point of sale key 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's like 3. Okay, it's not indicating what key, which seems kind of antithetical. Like, the keyboard should show me what key I've just selected. But now that I've selected it and I click OK, well, now what? Okay, so that's that 0, 0. Single key. Okay, let me do this. I go this one. So it's that red key down the bottom. Well, that's not really going to help me. So you have to go through here and somehow figure out what key you're selecting with the single key, right? That's what that's going to do. And then you enable software settings for that key. So I come over here and I say, okay, what I want to do is do a software function next. And you've got all these different capabilities, executable objects, run program, internet browser controls. You've got multimedia program controls, previous media stop. These are things that are built into Windows and Mac a little bit, but probably different on a Mac. They're built in so that some, media keyboards you would see would have these other keys on top for ejecting a keyboard, volume up, volume down. Those are discrete commands in Windows that you can call up. So you can see volume plus, volume minus. You can actually assign them here as well. So if you wanted to have volume control for your headphones, for your live show, you can assign that into 2 keys. So it's always right there. You don't have to go to mouse around and get to the little volume command, stuff like that. You just like volume up, volume down. We're going to come down here to text macro, text. So this second key, actually, you know what? I'm just going to assign a currency symbol to it. So let's just say I'm going to click on this, and this will be yen. Say OK. So now that's yen. And then I have to come up here to the activate, because all I've done is I've assigned it here in the app. I haven't downloaded it into the keyboard. So now I have to download it into the keyboard. Are you sure? It's going to take a couple seconds. Yes, depending upon how many commands how much stuff you've got going on. Okay, it's written to the keyboard. And then after it's going to come up with a little test area. There we go. And so you can see I've got this one is pound, and that one is plus. I don't know where my yen went. There's my pound. So what I'm doing is I'm typing these two keys over here. So somehow this became plus. Let's try this one down here because this one was being highlighted. That one is also pound. No, that one is nothing. So that is how you're going to program your keyboard up top by using these keys. Well, that's how you're going to program your software, using these keys that you have now assigned the extra keystrokes. Now, what extra keystrokes am I talking about? What I'm really talking about is the Osee keystrokes. Now, you have the extended Osee codes. You have your basic codes, which is all of your letters, as you can, oops, sorry, wrong laptop, side by side. Here you go. The Osee codes are basically your keystrokes, your basic keystrokes for all your letters and numbers and punctuation. So all of these actually have key codes to them, and they're part of the 127 keystrokes. But once you get to 127, past all the uppercase and past all the lowercase, there's more. There's 128 to 255, and these keys are the keystrokes that are not in front of you on the normal keyboard, but are built into it. You know, on a Mac, you can hit them with Option and a keystroke, Option and Shift and a keystroke, some various combinations you can use to get these extra keystrokes. And on Windows, it would be like Alt. Actually, I've got a page up here. Here it is. So if you wanted a copyright symbol, that would be Alt plus 0169 on a Windows machine. And then that would be the copyright symbol. If you were on a Mac, it would be like Option C or Option 2, or one of those is copyright, one of those is trademark. And then if you wanted the ligature, that would be Alt plus 0167. So these are all available in typing. They're just hard to get to. They're not built into the standard keyboard. But if you can assign these other keystrokes to the extra keys that you're never going to use in regular typing, and then if you use those on these upper keys, there's all these upper keys, you know, and you've got, let's see, 128 to 255. So you've got basically 128 more keys that you can use, characters that you can use for all of these other buttons on your keyboard. Now, of course, if you are doing a show and you need to type in yen as a monetary symbol, don't assign it to a key up here, because then if you do need to use it, it's actually going to, if you assign it to then cut to a piece of video or do video playback or something like that, it's going to do that when you try to type it into like actual text. So it's still going to be being typed. It's just interpreted on the computer end. So that's where the magic happens. And let's go back over here. Is it that one? I always forget which one. There it is. Mathematical symbols. So we got a degree symbol, square root, pound sign, the percents and brackets. Those are part of, you know, there's a fraction. So 1/4 fraction is Alt plus 0188. These are all available to you. And there's also a half and a 3/4. So these are all available to you to use how you see fit. So that if you're in vMix, and then, you know, let's actually bring that up. Let's see if I got vMix running on here. All right, so I've got vMix running, and just as an example, if I had let's add an input, color bars. Okay, so if I have black up, cut, and I want to go to color bars, I need to cut between them. So I need to assign cut to a keystroke. So I can come over here, view my shortcuts. I'm going to edit my shortcuts. And I've got some here, but I'm going to add a new one. So actually, let me just reprogram one that's here. Here's my cut where I hit the enter key or my StreamTek button. I'm not going to use the StreamTek right now. So I'm going to edit this one where I'm going to find, now it's listening for a keystroke. So I hit that top symbol. I'm going to hit this key right here. I know I could hit enter over here, but enter is already programmed. So I'm going to hit this key up here. So I hit that, and it's able to see if that worked. Okay. Okay. So now when I hit this top key, it's actually cutting back and forth. So I'm able to, with that find command, it's listening for whatever keystroke you make. I'm able to then type in any of these keys and assign them to functions in vMix or other apps. Also, you know, like if you're using a cloud tool like StreamYard or something like that, they also have like, oh, well, just hit shift in this, you know, or shift in that for certain things. Well, you can do that, or you could just assign it to special keys so that this key up here is shift plus this, and this one is option plus that, so that you can then have your StreamYard keys or your Restream keys or whatever, you know, cloud tool you're using, your Zoom keys. Zoom has keys too. You can then have all of those keys saved up here and then pull the little plastic cover off and put little labels in here so you can easily know what is what. And that way you're able to like have your thing. So I'm chatting in the app, Zoom, you know, whatever, I'm chatting with people, and then also cut to this, do that, cut, do this, do that. I don't have to have multiple things on my desk. I don't have to plug in multiple things. I've already got to plug in my keyboard. Now my keyboard is just doing more. You know, it takes some programming. Actually, they both do. I will say that programming the StreamTek is a bit easier. But this allows you to just have the one thing you put on the table that's doing both functions. Actually, it's also your mouse, so it's doing all three functions. Whereas, you know, I put this on my table. If now I need to like go in and make a change to a URL or something like that, I need to bring out the keyboard and the mouse. So, you know, having this simplifies things, but it doesn't remove this. Having this, there's nothing, you know, this is what you're going to need anyway. And then I'm augmenting it with the other functions like that. So that, I think, is a great value to people who want to simplify their setup, speed things up, and like put down one thing on the table. And hey, or even if it's a church, corporate office or things like that, where you need to simplify it for volunteers, you know, and you can have these things pre-printed, labeled, and it's like, listen, don't touch anything else, just do the switching up here. But if you need, you know, and then all of a sudden they go to a thing and they need to log in again, you know, because now all of a sudden the cloud tool that they were using or whatever, a month has gone by and now they need to log in. Well, look, I got the keyboard right here. I don't have to have two different things on the table. I've got, you know, here, let me log in. Boop, I'm in. Okay, now I'm up here and I'm doing the show. Start stream, end stream, you know, cut to my different inputs. Everything's good. And that way, I think these keyboards offer a really good value because yes, you could pay $100 for this, $150 for this, but you're still going to need this. And you could pay, as I was showing, you could pay $115 for this, but if you go over to Amazon, I'm sorry, eBay, you could pay $35 or $29, depending on what used unit you get. And the software download is free, and the keyboards are super inexpensive, the used ones. And they're built super rugged. So I would say you're really kind of safe getting these Cherry keyboards, these point of sale keyboards used because they're built for use. They're not consumer products that are built as cheaply as possible. These are industrial products with built-in, compute inside of the keyboard itself to handle the reprogramming. And that way, these things are designed to last quite a long time. And they will probably serve you in a rugged environment, for deployment being put away, deployment put away, deployment being put away for quite some time. So I don't see any questions coming in about the Cherry keyboard. So, hey, I appreciate you all being here today. This has been a show, a fairly simple show, but I wanted to really highlight these things. And again, I should say, as disclosure, Cherry is not paying me for this. I have no relationship between me and Cherry, other than the fact that I did purchase this one keyboard for me to use for vMix as a solution. I never actually ended up deploying it because the company that I was doing the work for decided on a different solution. So we ended up going with the StreamTek. But I thought this would be a great way to have both the keyboard and the control surface for our production, which was going to be moving every quarter to a different location. And that way I just had to put one thing down on the table. And so this is a keyboard that I purchased off of eBay myself, and the software I downloaded myself off of the Cherry website. And you're able to do that yourself, and for not a lot of money, you're able to try this out for yourself and see if it's a workable solution for your work. If you are new to the YouTube channel, or if you are watching on LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitch, please know that everything is over here on the YouTube channel. And also, please check out the latest big video. This is 1 hour and 43 minutes long. It's actually I'm condensing 2 different live shows about the Duet 8 and the Duet 8 Part 2. And the Part 2 was over 2 hours long. Part 1 was over 1 hour long. Both of those condensed down become this highly focused, complete overview of the Osee Duet 8. And it is a new switcher from Osee that has begun shipping. I actually still have it right here on the table because I have been told that there may be some really cool firmware updates coming down the line. And I'm just excited to, about this thing because it does so much in such a little package, from everything making the fan more powerful. It's got 4 HDMI, 4 SDI, and then right now you can do 5, 6, 7, and 8. They can be NDI, they could be webcam, they could be video playback, they could be, other things. They could be like anything you want. 4 NDI inputs, you got them. So compare this to a small Blackmagic switcher, which is 8 inputs, and you can't do NDI on any Blackmagic switcher. Here, you can have 4 NDI inputs and then a local laptop and a local, a local HDMI camera. But for 4 NDI inputs in a little switcher like this on physical buttons, with ISO record and program record and 3 streaming destinations and audio mixer for all your channels, and also video follows audio. Yes, it will auto switch for you as well. There's just a lot going on with this. And if you want to find out more, then you need to go to watch the complete overview of the Osee Duet 8 right there. Yes, it's a little long, but there's a lot to talk about because this little switcher does a lot. And again, Osee, it's not sponsored, and they are not paying me to say that. So you will find a good portion of that video is me saying things that they need to improve and things that are just too cumbersome and things like that. So it's a complete, honest overview of the Osee Duet. It's not a sales pitch. Go to the, you can find lots and lots of great videos over here on the StreamTek page. I also write for Streaming Media Magazine. Check out this all-in-one production tablet live solution over here. This is a great article talking about all the different solutions that are all-in-one solutions. And when I say all-in-one, I mean it also has to do titles and video playback and things like that. So this is not an all-in-one solution because you can't create titles on here and you can't bring viewer comments in on here and things like that. All-in-one means I have one thing and it's doing it all. Like the Magewell Director Mini, which is right next to it. So that is a great overview article you can find on streamingmedia.com. Also, if you need to reach out to me for consulting, you can go over to streamtek.us. That will take you over here to the StreamTek website, and then you can go to the Contact Us page. I do consulting for gear recommendations, technical support, and things like that. And I also run the B4 on, I don't know why that's there. Go away. Go away. Goodness gracious, stop notifying me of things. I run the B4 on Micro Four Thirds group. So if you want to put big, cool lenses on your DSLR, that's what this group is for. The B4 lens is the mount from broadcast lenses on Micro Four Thirds cameras. But there's a lot of people who have APS-C and even full frame. So there's a lot of discussion in there. And then I also create, geez, with the notifications, stop. I also created the AirMix group. So if you are, and it's still just throwing more notifications at stop. Facebook is like the most annoying, look at this, look at this, look at this. It's like the squirrel app. This is an app formerly available from Teradek, still in the app stores for iOS and Android. It can allow you to do multi-camera, live switching, recording, streaming, instant replay, audio mixing. I don't know where it's going. Go back. And all of that. And it's free because Teradek has orphaned the product, but the product is about 5 years old. So if you have old hardware that you may want to repurpose and try something out, AirMix is a great thing to try. So I created this group for people who are interested in AirMix to try it out. The app is free, the group is free, you can help each other out. Have fun. And then lastly, I've been giving a plug to my sister who has a studio called 17secondsstudio.org, and she does some original art up in Alaska. And so if you're into some of these really ethereal artwork, a lot of them with different poems and lyrics on there, and that were the inspiration for the paintings, you can come over here and click through and take a look at these. Again, this is 17secondsstudio.org, so feel free to check those out. That will sum it up for me today. PVE says, good to know about the Cherry low price. Yes. And that's how I found out about them, because I saw them at a restaurant and I was like, ooh, look at all those extra keys. I wonder, and of course it says Cherry on top. Right there, it says Cherry on top. So I was like, I go looking it up and, Googling around. And then I was like, well, maybe I can find one of those used or something like that. And the eBay is just filled with them because Cherry has been making these keyboards for decades and decades. So one restaurant gets sold and another restaurant moves in, they just get rid of the keyboards, or some wholesaler buys up everything from the old restaurant, and these things go on eBay for a song. And so that is a great way to get both your keyboard and your mouse and your control surface for your video switching all in one for pennies. And I thought that would be a great way, a great tool for live producers like you, live streamers who are watching StreamTek, to give it a shot. See if it works for you. And if it does, awesome. If not, hey, it was only $35 and you can put it right back on eBay. So once again, my name is Anthony Brokus. I'm the Chief Gearhead here at StreamTek. I thank you for watching. And till next time, I'll say thanks for watching.